Hello, Anne. Welcome to my channel. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me. Let me first introduce Anne is my classmate. We studied together in University of Milano. And today I have the pleasure to invite her to talk with us in my channel. I wish this is the first time, and in the future, whenever you feel comfortable, you can always come back so we can talk about data science, talk about different topics of the AI. So, so first of all, can you tell us about your background and how you get into the data science and machine learning?
So my name is Anh. I'm studying with Stephen, almost finished. I spent first year in in Milan, and then I moved to Zurich for a year exchange, and I was doing my master thesis here as well. And now currently I'm based in Zurich. I got into this program was kind of very spontaneous. I was looking for a bachelor class for my sister, and I just found an announcement of the program, and I found it really interesting, and I just registered. I didn't even know that it was a hype. And then I told to a lot of friends of me that, I'm gonna study master in data science. And then a lot of friends of me actually told me that, oh wow, that's the most attractive job in the market right now. A lot of articles wrote about this topic, but actually I just feel like I'm comfortable with math because I'm actually from a gifted high school where I spend a half of the day every day studying math for Olympiad competition. So I was thinking, well, it's great that I can combine the knowledge in other disciplines in economics to data science and learn more about programming.
Yeah, wow, that's very interesting. So just to be honest, when I chose this study path, I did not think too much. Now it's data science and the combination with the machine learning and AI, everything is is a hot the hot in the road, right? Yeah. So in your opinion, what are the key challenges you faced to apply the machine learning to real world problem?
I spent 6 months doing internship in Zurich for a software company, for a product company. So we basically produce a product for people who want to become a data scientist without programming skill. So you just need to know how to read model. You can use a platform to analyze the data. It's called local. It's a type of startup. So I was tell you about my experience in the company. I think the biggest challenge when I apply machine learning to the real world problem is probably that you need to spend a lot of time in data engineering. And for my specific cases where I had to build case study for the user, I think the most difficult thing for me is that I need to spend a lot of time think about how I design the research, how to come up with. It's like you basically draw a painting by your own, or you need to make a movie by your own. I need to think about the story that I'm gonna tell, the problem that I'm gonna solve, and where I can find the data. And then in that stage, I think the data engineering sometimes take a lot of time. So I think probably if it's a general question for everyone, I would say that data engineering is kind of time consuming. But for my specific case study, I think to have a big picture in your mind, what you're gonna do, what problem you solve, is really challenging because you need to be creative to come up with some idea that is worth to spend months on the project.
Yeah, that's very insightful. Yeah, so it's like sometimes when I do some projects like some just for hobby, right? For example, to predict some numerical variable, to predict something, you have millions of ways to do it. But how do you prepare the features, right? You need to prepare your data very well. And sometimes because the feature space is like infinite space that you can explore. So you need to be careful to choose which one is important, which one is less important, and so on. So yeah, I think I also feel that.
And I think it's quite a great example because I remember back then when I just exposed to data science field, basically what I did is like learn by heart or copy and paste. So basically, I just go to the internet medium. Some people already design their research, and what I do is just copy and paste, or at least choose the method that they use, or analyze the same thing that they actually figured out already on in the internet. But then in the real life, maybe you don't have the answer, or even you have a higher standard. Like myself now, even I know, for example, this data set normally people will solve this like this, but I want to create something original of my own. Then it's quite tricky because you have a lot of model, you have a lot of method. You need to choose it. It's like you have a canvas and you need to draw your painting, choose the color. It's very show really your taste. So that's a really great example. I see. That's it. I think it's like it could be maybe the path for people who really want to do data science. Like initially, you can just start with some. You don't need to have your own idea. You just copy and paste maybe, or you just. I mean, it's called reference. You reference the project of someone else and just to read. And at some point, if the knowledge you accumulate in your mind enough, and together with the data intuition that you have, I think you can tell your own story by applying your own things.
Yeah, so basically we are learning by doing, right? One side we are learning continuously, and then when we apply to the real world, we need to think more. So basically, I think you already read my mind. So my following question about how to select the machine learning model and how important is feature engineering. I think we can skip these two questions. So so another question is that what are the common misconceptions about machine learning that you've encountered with in the industry? So I'm asking this because if we already studied machine learning and AI, right? We know more or less the distinctions between these concepts. But for the audience, for the broader audience, most of the people now think AI is a hot topic. But when we dive into it, more of it is about large language model, multi-modality model, and so on. So do you think now in the market there are some misconceptions where the market do not get it?
I think something that I figured out when I was working in the industry after spend a while in academia, working in the lab in ETH, then I realized the biggest thing that kind of shocked me is that it's about AI, so I assume that it's a part of machine learning, right? Is that it's the fact that most of companies nowadays do not host any AI model themselves. So basically, most of company that application or chatbot that you found on the internet right now is kind of like they play a role as a mediators. So when you send a request or the proper term is prompt, when you send a prompt questions, the company will send that request to a third party. That could be a OpenAI or Hugging Face. That is two big player in that kind of third party thing now. Then via API, and then those kind of company will send the result from their trained model, which is AI model, and the mediators will show to you the answer, or probably poll processes in some way that is make it more accessible, more understandable for the user. So it's probably that you see everywhere. They claim that, oh, we have AI, we integrated with AI, they promote a lot about Gen AI stuff. They have a chatbot, that's smart stuff. But basically, they don't host the AI model, and they just play a role as a mediators agency to send your request to another one and get the request, get an answer, and show it to you in a more beautiful way.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's very detailed how can I say, demystify the structure of the AI we are talking about now. Because most of the interaction we are interacting with the back end very far from the user, right? Like we use ChatGPT, or the server, and how this model is inferencing and give us an answer is not hosted locally. I already see some of the comments like in LinkedIn. There are some practitioner in the AI industry. They suggest that either the individual and also the companies to host their local model. But there are many challenges, I think, because you need to have the experts to know your data, know your business, know your use case, and know how to help you to fine tune the model to your use case, right? So it's not so easy. So for some small business, maybe they just let's just let's delegate this job to a third party to do the job. But like some of the big company like JP Morgan, like the investment bank, they already have their internal models developed. I think I heard of Bloomberg, because they have a lot of trading data.
I actually have a friend work for Bloomberg, a data scientist in Zug. But I never really discussed with him about if he really trained a model. That's interesting, but I believe so because of the privacy concern, right? I think if they depends on they put a priority on what. If the priority is on the privacy issue or their business private secret, then I think hosting a local AI model is really crucial. Otherwise, if your business are just a small one and it's not your core product, you don't have that much the information that you don't want to be leaked. Then you just play the role like an agency. You just send your request to another company and get it.
Especially we're in EU, right? Where in EU is like the most strictly regulated place for AI. Like we have GDPR. When you are touching GDPR, you cannot how you use the data, how you gather the data, how you train your model. Everything is limited. So I'm really curious about how they do it in France, right? Like in the whole Europe now we know Mistral. We know Mistral model, nothing else. Like in United States we have so many models, and also some like in Singapore, in China we have many models. So I totally agree with you. Privacy is a very important issue, and when we talk about the application in different company, is a totally different issue. Like we use as a user using ChatGPT and so on. So can you walk us through a recent project where machine learning make a significant impact? Maybe some project you know or you are currently doing.
Well, I actually did a lot of project in natural language processing, but later people probably understand it as large language model. So, but it's like maybe 1 year ago when I basically used pre-trained model, language model to identify the Italian dialect. So given a corpus, a text, paragraph, me and my team actually identify where that person come from, like Veneto or Sicilia or Rome or something. And that was kind of a very interesting project. Or recently, actually the last 6 months, I spent time on building case study for sport data. So one of interesting article actually I write, and also it's like a project I did using very classical machine learning models with tree predictors and logistic regression, which is very classical that maybe everyone who studied machine learning should know. To answer for the question, if body size matter in triathlon. So, triathlon is a very extreme sport. But then the result turned out that actually the height and the weight of a athlete is not does not affect the result at all. So, which is, I think, an interesting project.
I'm very glad to hear that you are applying different machine learning models and doing a lot of projects. I think practice can make us more confident to confront the future challenges, right?
Yeah.
So another question: how do you stay up to date with the rapid developments? One day I was checking either LinkedIn or X, the Twitter. I see there are so many papers about, especially about transformers, like for natural language processing. It's like every day we have tens of thousands of paper. You cannot consume it timely. What is your suggestion or your idea of keeping up with such rapid development?
I think my case kind of an outlier. So maybe my advice wouldn't wouldn't be useful for the others. But so I'm a little bit antisocial. I used to use not to use LinkedIn, but recently because of my job I had to use it. I didn't use X either, Twitter. But then recently I use LinkedIn, so I saw a lot of posts about LLM. Some of them are interesting, some of them maybe also less interesting. But the thing is, you have a very limited resources of attention, and you don't know which one worth the time and worth your attention. So I actually choose to unfollow a lot of people and keep only the close circle of me that I know in the lab of ETH or some researcher in ETH that I know already that reliable in my circle and read their recommendation or they like. Back then when I was doing my master thesis in ETH, we had a weekly meeting, and during the week or couple of times we had a reading session. We or the researcher or professor would introduce a new newspaper or news or articles that they found interesting, and I kept myself updated by reading the whole thing. Or I think for me actually something more. I also listen to podcasts, but it's helped me in the sense that developing the conceptual idea more than really chasing some specific technology. I think when it's a hype, there are a lot of unuseful information. What you need to know probably is follow some reliable researcher that you see their background with their probably from good institution or from good research group, and then you probably follow their blog or probably LinkedIn channel or Twitter or something like that.
Yeah, that's really good advice, really. It's like the paper said, attention is all we need, right? So we need to actually distribute our attention to the point. If we just read all the posts and all the discussions every day, it's just too much. So
exactly.
We need to distill, right? There is a technique called distillation of the large language model. We also need to distill our content. Otherwise we cannot catch up.
Back then for my research, I also use that model. It's called DistillBERT.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, before ChatGPT was published, actually people in CS in general or AI, the circle they usually mention about BERT, and then there's another model was released which is lighter than BERT. It's called DistillBERT, which is distillation of BERT.
Yeah, I know that model. Maybe I already used it in one of my video. Yeah, because I was trying to just do some simple inferencing to get an answer from such model. And also another project is about it's like to identify if two sentences mean the same thing. So we can fine tune the transformer, the previous transformer models, like the model you mentioned, and to actually do the classification task. I also read some of the comments from the Hugging Face. Some of the experts, they say, some of the language tasks we do not necessarily need 10 billion, 100 billion huge model. We can just use birds. Just use a
Exactly.
basic transformer. Yeah, so it's quite interesting because also like you said, when there is a lot of hype, it's like a lot of bubble, a lot of information. But what you really need and what you really need to work on is really important, right? We need to know what we want and how we can approach that.
I think it's also it's like a philosophy of life that I follow, not only for AI, but also like I mentioned before, my previous project, I used 3 predictors or logistic regression. It's nowadays there are a lot of library. You can use a lot of powerful thing. It's like you can use a lot of big model. It's everywhere, pre-trained everywhere, model everywhere. You can just download it for free. But the thing is, what do you need? You need to use. If you don't need, if you want to, you just want to learn, then I think using something simple is good. Or in machine learning, classical way, the same. If you want to interpret, you want to know what features play the most important role in the predicted model or something, then the smaller model is the better actually, because there's less parameters.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah. So there are so many research topic or use case there, right? We do not necessarily need to talk to a model. We can finish some of the task with our local compute. Because what I did, I tried to host some of the model locally. It's very painful because they are just too huge. But when we talk about smaller models, like just hundreds of millions of parameters, we can run in our local CPU, and it's not so slow. Yeah. So yeah, it's I totally agree with you. Yeah, we need to understand the tool, understand the issue, and how we can integrate them together. So my next question is that so about the recent AI development, especially about the large language model. So it's based on the transformer, right? Transformer is like a base for all the models. Do you foresee there will be some change in the structure? So maybe some new framework will be better to help us to reach to AGI, let's say. Because like some of the professors already said that maybe large language model is not the road to AGI, or the current framework is not road to AGI. Maybe the next step forward, maybe we need some new structure. What do you think about this?
Actually, I used to ask the professor about these questions. He from CMU. He told me probably the transformer is not the efficiently in top cost yet. Probably in the future there would be some other model that more like optimized in computings and costs and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because I mean it's moving very fast, right? Now NVIDIA, both the stock price and also the price for the product is so inflated. Yeah. So I'm also seeing some of the innovation both in the in the model side, like different model configuration to increase the efficiency of the model and use less compute. And also I'm also seeing some of the developments in the hardware, like LPU, language processing unit, and the different hardware advancements. They are all very interesting. I also think that it's not now current structure will not be definite for us to reach AGI, because there are also some negative news about the models, like hallucination is a problem we cannot 100% eliminate. It's like it's always there, the hallucination and also the inaccuracy. So when we are talking about some very serious problem, we cannot rely on the model because once it hallucinates, the result is a failure, is 100% wrong. Yeah. So I also did some experiments, but of course with smaller models. I see the dispersion of the results when you put it in the embedding model and get the numerical or scatter plot to visualize it. You can see it's very interesting. I mean, yeah. So I also don't know about the future, but we are going to wait and see, right? So, but I'm optimistic because I think the future is going to be very interesting because there are a lot of competition and also advancements of the technology, and it will surely change our life. Yeah. So about the ethical consideration, right? We talked about data privacy. I think it's a part of the issue that we need to pay attention to when we use the machine learning models or we do research on the large language model and so on. But now it's like most of the people I know use large language model, and almost, I don't know, large part of them use them every week on weekly basis or even on daily basis. So do you think that there should be some ethical consideration about these tools? Or we can say, like the ChatGPT, this example, should we have some ethical guardrail to help the people to safely use this technology? So it's like, for example, when we have ethical consideration, for example, could this model mislead people? How do we avoid that? Or some ethical issue like because some people use chatbots like a mental guidance. So should we have some guardrail to make sure that it does not bring harm to the users?
Actually, there should be some regulation on this, but I'm not so sure about how is the progressing of the authorities in releasing the regulation on the concern that you mentioned. Actually, to be honest, in my opinion, AI is not a trend, but it's a revolution. So we need to get used to the existence of AI, of language model, and use it in the way that it serve your task, use it to run your task. Probably a lot of people mention some concern in terms of creating or writing, at least some practical case studies that people use ChatGPT to write their email or write their essay without using their brain power. I think it should be a good tool, but then you are the person who decide to use that or not, and there's a lot of ways to use it. Probably you can draft a outline of your essay and you write it with your own language and then ask ChatGPT or other language model to refine it or check the grammarly, those things related to the syntax problem. And yeah, then you have a perfect task done by you, original, but also leverage the power of language model.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, in that case, I think it's totally ethical.
Yeah, it's a tool. First of all, we as users, we need to distinguish it, right? We need to understand its pro and con and its defects, which may not be very perfect. And also regulators need to do something. But there are some let's say just talk about Europe and the USA. There are kind of two types of the environment. Like in EU, there are a lot of regulations. People are thinking. I see a lot of comments that the EU is like limiting the development of AI because there are so many over-regulated issues in the market. But in the US, like I shared with you before, one time I was asking one question about the regulation to YC. Do they consider some of the privacy issues of one of the YC candidate company and their product? And the response was that they are innovator. Their response is that YC companies are innovators. They like to advance first before the regulators comes in. So I think there are different environments in US and EU. It's quite interesting. And also now I see some of the startup founders in Europe move to US because maybe the environment is less strict. They can try a lot of things. But let's see. I think it's a double-edged sword, right? We cannot say that regulation is useless because sometimes it's very important. Yeah. Okay, so final question. Because some of my audience are like us, students, researchers, and also the professionals and practitioners in different industry. So we have different levels of the utilization of the data science tools, of the models, etc. So what is your advice to like the students or professionals about their study career or the professional career? What is your advice? What is your suggestion?
I think for students, it's very crucial to learn the fundamental knowledge. By doing great with your courses, with your study plan, you don't need to follow the news. If today the model release, the second model release, it's not really important. Just stick with just your professor and learn the material that the experienced person design or follow a specific book. Instead of reading those posts on the internet, probably it's very keep you updated. But basically, there are too many of them these days, and reading a book still helps you to have a well structure in your mind, and it's like you can have a overview of a book. Meanwhile, if you read a lot of single posts, probably it's very it creates sort of hallucination in your mind, and you will maybe become a language model as well.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's very insightful, right? As long as you mentioned about the hallucination, I think sometimes I feel that hallucination is not really a bad thing, right? Because it's like building our cognitive structure. We need some hallucination to bind all the resources or all the knowledges together. Yeah. So it's very interesting. So and I also agree with you that when we see a lot of things flying in the air, we need to focus, right? Especially when we are in university, it's better to focus on our study material and also the professor's guidance, because that's really a very highly concentrated material for us to follow and to progress. Yeah, that's very important. Well, I think I have asked all the questions, and thank you very much for joining this podcast with me and with my audience.
So your channel.
Yeah, thank you very much, and also good luck to your research and for your professional career. You are always welcome back to share with us anything you want. Okay, so just good luck and thank you again. Thank you. Bye. Thank you, and bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.